Terence McKenna once said it best, that science asks of you one miracle. That's the Big Bang. In the beginning, there was nothing, and then God created the earth and the skies. And that's essentially what the Bible is trying to say. Because if you think about the Bible, right, and if all these people are correct about the original history of sophisticated civilization, if the Randall Carlsons and the Graham Hancocks and the Robert Shocks of the world, they're correct, say the most sophisticated society that we are aware of, which is Africa. If those people that lived in Africa 30,000, 40,000 years ago in Egypt, if they created a society that was infinitely more sophisticated than anything that we had ever seen before, how did they do that? Who did that? And what was that like? Like, what the fuck was that like? What was that world like back then?
Well, how about that you have a similar world in Central and South America, where they also had built things many thousands of years ago that still, like, how the fuck did you do that? Easter Island, how did y'all make those things?
Yeah.
How in the world, and then move them?
Well, I think if those things go down and then people have to rebuild, I think it takes a long time before people figure out what happened. And I think that's where a lot of the confusion that you see in the Bible comes from. Like, God made the earth and the sky and everything in like 6 days, right? And on the 6th day he rested. What are they actually saying, though? You're getting things that are translated from an oral history of 1,000 years, and then they're writing it down in Aramaic, they're writing it down in ancient Hebrew. Now imagine what you would do if you had the real knowledge of the birth of the solar system, of the development of human beings, and the God energy of the universe, and you tried to translate it over an oral history, because there's no more cities anymore and everyone's dead, and you're just like hunting and gathering as cave people, and you're trying to relay this origin story of mankind, and then it gets written down in parables and it gets written down in Latin. Then they sit down and they look at it many years later and they go, what the fuck were they trying to say? Because so much of what they're trying to say, if you're really paying attention, like, it seems like it's kind of laid out like the origins of the universe. If in the beginning there was nothing, like they're talking about the Big Bang, why wouldn't they assume back then that God was always around? Why would they assume that God had to make everything? Why would they assume that there was a beginning and an end just because they have a beginning and an end? Why would they assume that? And why did everybody assume that? Maybe because they fucking knew. Maybe because at one point in time, whether it's 10,000 years ago, 20,000 years ago, they had figured a lot of this shit out.
Well, someone figured something out for the pyramids and the way that they were built. To be aligned so perfectly with a true north, and
just to be able to construct them. If those people were that smart, why wouldn't we imagine they had an understanding of the birth of the universe? But if we've seen what the Egyptian people were able to build, what was that like? How sophisticated were they? And maybe what we're getting at in the Bible is just the longest game of telephone of a true story. It's just all kind of gumbled up in stories, and God's testing you and all this thing about, God telling this guy to kill his kid. Mate, it's just a little screwed up. But it's showing you that there are evil forces at play, and there are temptations. Now, we must resist
lessons
those. Yes.
in a story that you can understand.
Exactly.
Because what is a day to God?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Is that a billion years?
Yeah.
A million years?
100 billion?
Who knows?
Who fucking knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
But it's presented in a way that you can digest it.